Hello, everybody, and welcome to First Ring Daily. I'm mostly normal on my end, and Paul can't see me.
I guess all I'm looking at is like a gaping black hole. And this time I don't mean you.
I was going to say that sounds like just another average Wednesday, but today's show, folks, is brought to you by these guys. Smart Deploy, Windows migration, new hardware rollouts, lab or classroom refreshes. Complete your project in half the time. And that's pretty real. You actually will complete it in about half the time. Check them out, smartdeploy.com/Thurrott for free licenses and a free year of support. Go download it, get your goodness on, get your deployments on, make life a little bit better. And speaking of not making life better, Paul, so
yes.
if there was like some like Days of Our Lives or some like sad drama music going on,
Yep.
I am
There often is
slowly losing my mind a little bit faster this week than usual. So I don't know if I talked about it yesterday or the day before. Actually, I think I mentioned it every day after it shipped. The AMD Ryzen machine that I had that was broken, that I sent back to iBuyPower, who, to be honest, they've been pretty good so far, we'll say. They got the machine. They said, you know what, it was a dead motherboard. We're going to swap it out, and we're going to make it better. So they shipped it back. I got it all set up. I mean, it's kind of hard to see here, but I put the HD capture card in there. I had the graphics card in there. Everything's all, yes. Yeah, everything's all lit up. Put it in, boots just fine. There was a little wonkiness. I started noticing on Twitter. I was like, hey, why is the hard drive getting thrashed? The 4 terabyte. And I was like, you know, whatever. So I just disabled it from Device Manager, and it stopped that. I was like, okay, fine. Didn't really think much of it. Then there was some little wonkiness just here and there or whatever. And this morning I came down, and the machine won't boot. Nothing. I don't know. So I'm further than I was last time when it broke. Like the machine will actually turn on, and it throws.
I like that you think this is progress.
Yeah. Well, last time, like I pressed the button and it just did nothing because the motherboard was like shorted out or whatever was going on, completely fried. And so now, like it turns on. All the LEDs come on. So I have some nice like disco lights in the office. And it gets down to the posting codes down here, which you can't really see in the image, but this is a little LED board or LCD board. And it gets up to number 65, and that's something related to like the CPU connection or something or other. I don't know if that's the actual issue, but it never gets past that number, and then it just kind of reboots. And there's a little VGA light up here that turns on, which is not on in this image. It says it can't find that there's no video out, and I don't know what to do. The only guess I have at this point is that I looked up the specific RAM that is in this machine, and it's not explicitly listed on the compatibility list for this motherboard.
Interesting.
Here's the other interesting thing, Paul. I can't now. I am not putting over the fact that I might just be dumb, but I tend to know how to poke around inside a computer. I can't remove the RAM. So you know how there's the two little switches, right? There's one on the top and the bottom, little toggles, and you press them, and then it pops out, right?
Yep.
So the top one goes just fine. I cannot get the bottom one to move at all. Like putting more than enough pressure on it, it will not release. Yeah. So that is I
don't know what to say. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna say something. What's that? Yeah, I'm not gonna say something like, "This is why I don't use AMD products." That is ridiculous. I'm sure AMD products are excellent, but this thing, it sort of feels cobbled together. This is the worry that I had last summer when my son and I built that gaming PC that we built for him, which, by the way, has curiously worked fine the entire time. I still can't believe that Frankenstein's monster boots up every day, but it does. And to my knowledge, he's never had any problems. In fact, I think he added a hard drive to it at one point, and it just works, which is neat. But I don't know. This kind of complexity and this issue of not knowing where to turn, not even knowing where to begin, has always been my kind of issue with this kind of build your own PC thing,
Yeah, and so here's the other thing: is I have another relatively custom built PC that is my daily driver I ripped the video card out of this machine, put it in the other one. It works. I put my old video card in this one, so I know it's not that. And the other one works just fine. And so it's like building your own PC is fine. There's like some sort of voodoo curse on this specific machine, and I don't know how we get rid of it.
Could I interest you in a Intel-based gaming PC of some kind?
What I really want is just a high-end rig for video editing. Now, granted, the rig I have is not incapable of that, but it's, what, 2 years old now? What's happened in 2 years?
You should do some tests and see how your existing computer on the same clip, like do whatever type of thing you do, like pick something that will be the same project, and then run it on the Surface Book 2, run it on your PC, and just kind of see what it looks like. I mean, it's weird what can impact this, and even a supposedly better computer overall, but with kind of a lesser graphics card, might actually not work as well. Yeah, no, that very well could be the point. I just want this one to work because it's very nice. Oh yeah. My life is a constant state of wanting things to work.
Such as the return video for this podcast that you're not going to
get today. Yeah, there isn't a day that goes by. Yeah.
So I emailed iBuyPower, the representative who's been helping me, and I said, hey, this is great. Now, I did take a video of this thing like not booting, and so they can see the code cycling, so hopefully they can give me a little credit. And I ended it with, sorry, again.
Sorry again.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Well, at least they're sorry.
Yeah, this is, life goes on. Speaking of life going on, some of the buildings are not going to go on at Microsoft's campus anymore, Paul. They're getting ready to knock the place down, aren't they?
Yeah, I wrote a little editorial about this for premium folks, but in going out to the Microsoft campus for 22 years, I've always been kind of fascinated by a number of things about the campus, but one is that the original buildings were mostly cross-shaped, right, which is kind of unusual, and they were trying to create like a college campus atmosphere, which honestly they pretty successfully did. But Microsoft has also been limited by the height to which they can build buildings, which is like a Redmond building code issue. So the early buildings are all 2 or 3 stories tall. Even the newest buildings, I believe, are only 4 stories tall. I think that's as tall as they can go. This is meant to curb over development, but what it's done is created development density. So the Microsoft campus has exploded in size and has kind of eked out into the surrounding area. They have sub-campuses all around the main campus, Red West, Millennium, and so forth. There's a lot of them. And I've always kind of wondered how Microsoft, is clearly the biggest taxpayer in Redmond, didn't have more sway over how this stuff could go. But I guess what they're going to do is destroy, I don't remember the exact number, 18 or 12 of the original buildings and put in, slightly taller, like, 4 stories versus 2 or 3 stories buildings to replace them. It's going to lead to 8,000 more employees coming to this place, right? And so the other thing I've noticed over the years coming to Redmond is that the traffic there is a freaking nightmare. In fact, I lived in Boston, which you would think, not one of the top 3 cities in the United States, but surely one of the top 5 rate for traffic, surely one of the top 5. The traffic in Redmond is way worse than the traffic in Boston. And I've always been really distraught by that because it's a pretty area. And I can see why people would want to live there, but Microsoft has destroyed it with high property prices and with all the traffic. And now they're going to bring in even more people. And it's interesting to me that they never address the traffic issue, not really, in their announcement about this project. If I lived in that area, I think at this point I would reject any expansion of any Microsoft anything. Like I think it's already bursting at the seams with people and high prices and traffic.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't read their full post. Did they say what offices they're going to close? Because they have a pretty substantial build out in Bellevue as well.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah, that's true. They're all around the area. No, but it's the oldest building. So remember, like I said, the first 8 or 12, whatever they are, those kind of X-shaped buildings, which are really quirky and weird and old-fashioned. Kind of like 1970s, 1980s old-fashioned. Those are the ones I always thought those things had lots of character and stuff. I really like those. I believe those are the ones they're going to be, razing down to the ground and then rebuilding. So I'm not sure exactly, but I think it's the old ones.
It's the cool thing to do. Apple's just about done with their spaceship. Google is doing a very similar project, I believe. And Microsoft said, hey, we've got a bunch of cash.
Amazon famously just announced they wanted a second headquarters, and they basically set up a competition where cities all around the country, and actually all around North America, can try to explain why they're the best place to go. So they're going to get some awesome tax break, and they'll probably destroy suburban Denver or wherever they end up. And Microsoft's take on this is like, look, we think one headquarter is enough, and we like it here. We're staying here. And I'm sure to the local community, part of that is kind of cool because they're obviously a big company and it's great for the area in many ways. But again, there's that negative impact as well. I almost feel like a company like Microsoft is big enough, certainly is big enough, but maybe should be spread out a little bit more just to relieve all these bad side effects of them being there.
Speaking of bad side effects, Paul, how about we answer some reader questions?
All right, we'll try.
All right, Travis Gruel says, has anyone been able to get the Harman Kardon invoke to see a Gmail calendar? My Windows 10 calendar shows all my calendars, including Gmail, and Cortana reads them all to me. I've asked, with the invoke, that Cortana only reads the Office 365 calendar.
Okay, that's interesting because I was just looking at Cortana. So does he say that he has, how does he have Cortana connected to Google?
That's a good question.
Because I can't get Cortana to read me my calendar items. So how would you do that?
He said it's only reading his Office 365 calendar. I don't know, actually.
Well, so for example, let me make sure it's true, though, because it's different on different computers. Actually, I'm a liar. Never mind. This computer doesn't even have Google configured through it. So I was just going to say, because I just checked on this computer, but it doesn't matter. If you configure a Google, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't. I thought I had the answer, and I don't have this configured correctly. And now I want to find another computer so I can check this. Let's move on, and I'll come back to this.
Luke says, I never use the front-facing camera on my phone. Even just a few short years ago, you could buy a smartphone without a front-facing camera. Would either of you buy a smartphone today that was completely bezel-less without a front-facing camera? No, I need my front-facing camera.
Yeah, you're like a selfie nightmare.
Well, there's that. I mean, you never know when Panos is going to do
I know
a
you
presentation
FaceTime
right
with your
daughter. But it's also important, too. For example, when we go to Hawaii next week, I will FaceTime with my kid, and so I will need a front-facing camera for that. And I don't. I see what he's saying, but I don't think I would buy a phone that didn't have a front-facing camera.
Yeah, I've noticed that at least one phone maker has put the camera on the bottom so that they can do what looks like a better kind of near bezel-less display. But of course, then you get the Dell XPS issue, where it's kind of looking up your nose unless you hold it right or whatever. This is why you see companies like Essential and Apple dealing with the notches and how do you solve this problem? I think near bezel-less is how you solve that problem, and that the miniaturization of components will eventually allow those things to be in the bezel, and they'll get smaller, but they'll still kind of be there. You don't mind me just jumping in for a second with this other thing. So on this laptop where I do have my Google account configured, Cortana does, like he said, provide me with my calendar information. So why doesn't it work on the Invoke? Because God knows why, because nothing ever works. And that's interesting. I don't have it plugged in right now, so I can't see what it would say, but I want to say I tried this and it didn't work. I think he's right. I don't know why.
Well, moving on here. Shane says, improving Wi-Fi signal. I've looked into trying to improve the Wi-Fi signal strength through my home, especially so it reaches outside better. Was looking at Wi-Fi repeater, but read that even though the distance and that signal was obtainable, is better the strength and the weakness. That sounds weird. Anyway, so if you want to talk about boosting, it's always a little hard to read sometimes on the air, and especially if a sentence, I don't know, but whatever. Anyways, improving Wi-Fi signal. Paul, I know we both take different approaches. I've used the Amplify HD, which is essentially one home hub, and then 2 satellites, which is they're effectively repeaters, but it's all built into the solution, so it's not like you're patching something together, and it works absolutely wonderfully. And I know you're using Google Home or
yeah, I
Google
mean, I Google Wi-Fi. I think the way to state this is that there are 2 basic approaches. One is the extender approach, which is what you're doing. So you have a single wireless access point, and then you extend the signal through extenders, or you use a mesh network, which is kind of the slightly more modern take on this problem, if you will. And I think that the way you choose is cost versus usability or whatever. So I think extending an existing wireless network might work well if you really like the wireless adapter, the wireless access point you have, and you already have it, it's all up and running and you don't want to screw with it. If you're doing a new thing like I did when I moved here, getting something new and testing it first kind of made sense. The issue with this stuff is now that this thing's up and working, like I don't really want to screw with it. So it's possible that there are wireless mesh networks that are better than the one I bought. It's possible that it's an absolute fact that there are wireless access point, those ones that look like Predator drones from the future that are super powerful and are more functional, from different feature standpoint. And then I could extend that, and maybe that would work just as well or better. But the thing is, like, I like stuff that works, and I think we discussed earlier, that's a rarity. And the Google thing for me has worked really well. So I'm not going to screw with it. But I think those are the 2 basic approaches, and it would just depend on what your relationship is, with the existing access point you have.
Yeah, and what he's talking about here, I reread his thing, is that even though the distance is greater with a repeater, the true strength of the signal isn't. And that very well could be the nature of using just a third-party repeater, because your system wasn't designed with that functionality, so you're basically bolting it on, as opposed to what Amplify HD is, that I use, or Google Wi-Fi that Paul uses, where it was explicitly designed to be extended.
That's right. You're going to get diminishing results on an extender. Theoretically, with a mesh network, regardless of which one you choose, each of those access points is essentially like a full strength access point, right? So you can put them around your house. It's neat. You can add and subtract as you want, as you need. It's nice. Like if I wanted, I would never would, this place is stupid big, but if I wanted to build off the back of the house, I could throw another extender. It would latch right on. It'd be fine. It would work great.
Yep. Next question comes from Peter K. He says, there a way to get invited to the Office 365 Insider program for the UWP apps? I have an Office 365 home subscription. There was a sign up at one point, but I signed up very early on and I have yet to get invited. Yeah,
and there's been nothing on that, right? So it's weird how slow moving this is, and it's weird how kind of bulky it is. Like I just got that Surface laptop, and of course you get access to Office 365 Personal in the store. There's a way, I didn't do it this time, but there's a way to get access to Office 365 Home in the store as well. And we know that starting in 2018, they're going to have a beta and then eventually a general release of the commercial versions of Office 365. But yeah, it's been really quiet on this front. The apps are updated fairly regularly. I've in the past week, I've updated them at least twice. But yeah, I don't understand why that's just not open to everybody. And I suspect it will be once they cross some bar. I'm sure it's just not quite there yet, but yeah, I don't know why it's like that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know. I would love to offer some deep technical insight as to why they won't let anybody just test this. But as we learned yesterday, they're not even letting everybody test sets, which set people off into a nice little tizzy. And so Microsoft giveth, Microsoft taketh.
Yep.
So why did I close that window? That was not very smart of me. Last question comes from I Love Missy85. I was wondering if anyone else is having trouble downloading the latest Nvidia drivers on Windows 10. I have an Alienware 15R3 laptop, only a month old, and I tried to update my graphics and cannot get it to download. Now I can't play Star Wars Battlefront 2 any longer. This sucks. Do any of you have a clue what might be going on?
Oop. Sorry, you dropped out there, but I think I saw the question. This is, for me, one of the most painful things about Windows. And I thought that Microsoft was going to fix this problem. In fact, I thought this was something they announced right when they announced Windows 10, if not maybe within the first year, which is basically that you have multiple ways to install drivers on your computer. And Windows Update handles what they call, I think they're called base drivers, or whatever the inbox drivers are. So in other words, you plug in a mouse and you get like a base is not the right term, but whatever the driver is for the mouse, the pointer moves around, it works. Depending on the device, you might get a more sophisticated driver from Windows Update. Or you can go to the manufacturer and get one from them, right? So, with an Nvidia graphics card, for example, you can run that GeForce Experience application and get new drivers every 10 seconds. It seems like it's every time I run the thing, there's a new driver. Sometimes there's a conflict between these two places, right? You also have the issue with the PC maker where you buy a PC from HP, Dell, Lenovo, whatever, and they have a utility where you can get drivers for that specific device, which is a great idea. Like the idea is you want to have the specific device drivers that you need. Excuse me while I murder my cat. I know you probably can't see her way over there. She's destroying a box for some reason. Anyway, this is an ongoing problem. So I had talked to, I want to say at least, one PC maker a couple years ago where they were saying that Microsoft had reached out to them and they wanted to get more device-specific drivers going through Windows Update, that they wanted that to be the one true source for drivers. And I thought that's where these things were going. Since then, that has not been the case. So this kind of thing is a huge problem. If he's talking about an Nvidia thing, is that the question?
Yeah, the Nvidia graphics driver.
You got to get it from GeForce Experience and just not worry about the Windows stuff. The way Windows should work, and again, it's kind of a mixed bag for sure, is that that GeForce Experience-based driver will always be the latest one. Windows Update should see that and should not provide you with a out-of-date driver. So that would be my solution. With put air quotes around solution because it's not a great solution, but this stuff should work better for sure. It's really aggravating.
Yeah, a couple of people did respond to this particular question. Somebody recommended that they go into Device Manager and try to revert the driver, which is a possibility. You can also try to update the driver there. And then Kernel BSD said exactly what you just said. Get it directly from NVIDIA. Okay. Don't try to go through any other service.
Somebody already answered the question.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find. I'm looking up this Harman Kardon thing. This kills me that doesn't work. That's just so aggravatingly typical.
I'm looking at a very high-end PC that doesn't work, and it just kills me.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to try to find out on this. I'm going to ask these people about this. I'm going to ask Harman Kardon.
They're real friendly to me.
That should work. That's stupid.
I don't think this is going to be through them, though. This is a Cortana issue, I guess.
But it works in Cortana, right? And so, yeah, right. I suppose, I don't know how the connection is made here, what the details are. It seems to me like if Cortana can do something, that thing would be exposed through the invoke, which is just an endpoint, right?
Yeah.
But the question here is how independent that thing is. Actually, it's not a question. It is independent. So on your PC, you would configure your Google account for mail and calendar, right? So you can get your mail, you get calendar, your contacts, so forth. And on that PC, when you ask Cortana, what's my schedule? You can try it yourself. You'll see that it will bring up that information. It comes out of the Google thing. Now, but your Google account apparently is not thus connected to Cortana in the cloud. And I think that's why the invoke doesn't see it. It's not there's no configuration on the invoke, or maybe there is and we don't know what it is, that makes that connection. It's possible that the reason it works on your PC is because you configured it on your PC for those apps, right? That the thing it's really integrating with is the mail app and the calendar app, not with Google. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely does.
This one bothers me. I'm going to try to find out.
Well, there you go.
I'm writing the email right now.
To be continued version of We Help Wednesday. You got anything else for today, Paul, before we shut off your black screen?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I don't know. I'm afraid to even say anything anymore because there's so much stuff going on. I have a lot of hardware reviews to get to. You and I, of course, are going away, and I'm prepping for that, trying to figure out which device or devices to bring on that trip and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot going on. My daughter has blackmailed me into getting a dog, and so that's the latest drama here at my stupid house. And yeah, it's a lot of good stuff. How about you, Brad?
I think there should be a public vote on naming your dog.
I by the way, last night, so when we looked at the dog, you had texted me or whatever, and I said, I was like, Brad reminded me that I agreed that the dog could be called On a Roll, which she thought was funny, but she said the dog's name is Daisy, and that's the way it is.
Oh, oh, wow. 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 Okay. Well, Daisy it is. What type of dog? I'm assuming you're getting like a poodle, maybe a Yorkshire Terrier, a little.
Yeah, you wish. I wish, actually. No, it's kind of a larger dog. It's like a, I want to call it, it's like a Labradoodle, but it's also kind of a half mutt thing. So it's kind of like a gray and black. I'm going to call it a snickerdoodle. I don't know what the heck it is. It's different. I know.
So your dog is going to match your phone, and that could be described as penguin.
Penguin.
Or panda.
Yeah. I hope it doesn't eat my cats.
Yeah, that would be a little violent.
Panda. That's what we should call it, panda.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Okay. All right. Nothing but the best here. Why, if everything would just work for one day, I don't know what I would do. I would assume that a meteor would fall out of the sky and hit me if everything in my life just worked. But as you can see, that didn't work there. But anyways, folks, today's show is brought to you by
It's funny because in the middle of your little... sorry.
Go on. You ruin things as usual. What?
In the middle of your little dissertation there about how things never work, Skype didn't work because your audio went out for me. But anyway, it's okay.
Well, yeah. Anyways, today's show is brought to you by Smart to Play, folks. Hardware independent imaging software for businesses with 50 to 50,000 users. Check them out, smarttoplay.com/Thurrott. And we'll catch you right back here tomorrow.